ready-made, chewable to them. This is the price, this is the quality, this is why we should buy it, and so on. Answer all the questions before they are asked. And I had another thing that I wanted to add, but it slipped my mind now.
Thank you. So we hope Engineer Hafiz is quite ready now. So Engineer Hafiz, you have the floor.
Hafiz, if if Mr. Leon said that you should work with your safety manager, could be that you are the safety manager in your company. Do your research, and if you're not specialized in PPE, ask a specialist. It's no luxury asking a specialist's help. And often the suppliers, of which you know, some of us in the room here are suppliers of PPE, you can ask their help, and they will help you also explain you how to maintain it and so on. So networking, always important everywhere. I'm sorry, Hafiz, go on.
Yes, Mr. Leon.
Yes.
So, sorry. I think I confused this time zone difference between UAE and Nigeria. So I'm sure you started some. So I think we can. Okay, can you see my?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Yes, please, we can see.
Okay, so we can quickly go through this. Already we have short of time. So this is the course personal protective equipments. The course is 108, and you can see here it's our 12th batch, and it is something great that is coming from the Nigerian safety aspirants, that we have done that much batches so far. And now the learning outcome for the today course, what we will be going through the slides, the main topics will be, first of all, hierarchy of control for workplace hazards, and then defining the personal protective equipments, and what are the requirements and responsibilities regarding the PPE from the employer and employees on a workplace, and some basic types of personal protective equipments. We will go through that, and then we will see that how to come up with a personal protective equipment plan, and then what are the selection and usage criteria for the personal protective equipments, and then we will see the specific instructions for selection and usage for personal protective equipments, and then we will have some fact summary about the personal protective equipment. So during today this course, basically what we will learn about the personal protective equipments, their usage, their application, and also very important things we need to learn in the whole safety perspective as a control measure, that where they stand, this PPE. Actually, this is also the part of this is a control part of the overall hierarchy of control for hazards. So we will see where it stands and how we apply them, and what are the basic types of PPEs. And also it is very important that you should, as a safety professional, you should be aware that what are the responsibilities of an employer and also from the employees regarding the safety equipments. So now, first of all, we start from the hierarchy of controls. So here we can see
Oui, bonsoir.
This is
Oui, comment vous allez? Oui, ça va.
this is you can see this is the hierarchy of control diagram. Here you can see at the top there is elimination and substitution. Actually, these are the control measures and these are the levels. And you can see on the left side, it is the effectiveness level of these control measures. And other side, you can see the implementation cost. So in this hierarchy of control, when we see on the top, there is elimination and substitution. Then it comes to the engineering controls. Then it comes to the administrative controls. And then next it comes this our PPEs, personal protective equipments. And then it comes the safe work practices. So here actually what is basically this diagram shows you that from top to bottom, the effectiveness, the pure effectiveness of these measures, it decreases from top to bottom, means safe practices and work personal protective equipments, they are less effective as compared to the elimination or substitution or engineering controls or administrative controls, because as we can see, elimination or substitution is, as the obvious is from the name, if you eliminate anything, any hazard, because these are all the methods of hazard control. So while controlling the hazard, if we eliminate it, it will be the most effective thing. And then if we just follow the safe work practices, then that is the least effective thing. It is effective, but it is less effective. And similarly, it is true with the PPEs. Alone PPEs is less effective measure. So implementation cost, of course, will be increasing, because if we want to eliminate some process, definitely we have to put R&D and we have to replace it with some process, substitute it with something. So the cost will be higher as compared to just going for the safe work practices, giving the lecture, making a policy, something like this. So in this, from this hierarchy of control, safety professional, why I am focusing on this slide more, because you need to know in this one, if you remember this one figure, you understand this one figure, this hierarchy, then there are a lot of things that are very obvious. There are 5 actually types of hazard control. Most effective will be elimination. Least effective will be PPEs and safe work practices. Okay, and then engineering and administrative controls are in between them. And from, if you remember this hierarchy of control, then you definitely will know that what is the most effective, it is on the top, and what is the least effective. And then you can know what are the 5 measures. As you can see here, it is EEAPS. You can remember the abbreviation: elimination, engineering, then A, administrative control, then P, PPs, and then S, safer practices. So also you can know from this diagram that effectiveness, from top to bottom, it decreases, and implementation from top to bottom, sorry, effectiveness will be decreasing from top to bottom, and also the cost will be highest for the top and least for the bottom. So this slide, in this slide, you can remember the names of the possible control measures for the hazards, and then you will know that what is their effectiveness and how much the cost is considered. So here now what we will do, we will go for these all control measures one by one. We will look at them, and then specifically we will go for the personal protective equipments. But you need to know as a safety professional that this personal protective equipment is not only mean of controlling the hazard, it is one of the means. that is used for protection, but actually this is the overall hierarchy of the controls for the workplace hazards. And of course, as a safety person, you need to know what is hazard. Actually, hazard is the anything that can cause risk, that can pose a risk, that can cause a loss. So what we do through these control measures, we try to control these hazards. So now first we can see in order of precedence, elimination or substitution is the first one. Any means of eliminating or reducing the risk resulting from a hazard, it is called elimination or substitution control measure. Eliminate hazard by changing process so the hazard do not exist. So what we can do, we can alter a process, we can make an alteration to machinery or workplace or work situation to eliminate some risk from the workplace. Or what we can do, we can reduce the hazard through substituting something that will alter the process. And then becomes the engineering controls. The engineering controls will involve using some engineering means, providing some equipment in the sense equipment shields for the machines or processes. And then there will be administrative controls, and administrative controls are normally to validate some safety procedures and making job changes. To administrative measures, doing the training or providing warnings and other things, putting the notes boards and this stuff. And these all will be a sort of administrative control that will be done through the administrative measures. And then there will be the usage of PPEs, and safer practices are also sort of administrative control. Here means the company will lay out the safer procedures, policies, and these things. So it is also a sort of administrative control. And these are actually the introduction for short introduction for all of these control measures. So here also we divide these control measures into two categories. One are the pre-contact controls, and second one are the point of contact controls. So pre-contact control are those control measures which help us to reduce the risk or remove the hazard before physically when the people are in touch with the situation or process or procedure or work activities or workplace. So pre-control controls are actually involve removal of any given hazard before a worker comes into contact with it. It may be a process, work activity, workplace. So if we remove it, of course, before someone get into contact with the situation, then it is called pre-contact control. And part of pre-contact controls are elimination or substitution, which we do before somebody is involved in the work, and we do some activity, we eliminate it or substitute it. So this is considered as the pre-contact control. Similarly, the engineering control and administrative controls, these are the things which were done, we utilize normally before somebody is going to get into the situation directly. For example, putting the safety shield to a machine is a pre-contact control. Before somebody is going to use this machine, before that we can put a shield. So these first three top are the pre-contact controls, and then comes the PPEs and safe work practices. They both fall in the category of point of contact control. They come into action when the person doing the job or involved in that activity is directly in contact with that environment, that activity or that process. So that at that time, it is a point of contact control measure. So when somebody start working that, then we apply this some personal protective equipment, and then we do make them utilize some safer practices that how to do that thing safe. So there are now you also will know this two more concept that there are two types of things. One is pre-control and pre-contact control measures, and the above three in these five in the hierarchy of control, they are included in the pre-contact control, and second two PPEs and safer practices are part of the point of contact control. So now next again little bit about the elimination control. So what is elimination control? Highest priority, it is, you see it is on the top, it is the priority. Okay, the highest priority is that if we can eliminate the control, it is the best thing. If you can eliminate or avoid the hazard, so it is the highest priority control measure, elimination control. So here we try to completely remove that activity or hazard which can cause the harm. For example, here you can see these people, they are trying to lift this weight manually. So if we alter this process, if we eliminate this process of manual handling of this weight with the forklifter, then what we are actually doing, we are eliminating all the risk that is involved in manual handling. So this way we are eliminating this hazard of manual handling. But what we can see here, of course, it is removing the hazard of falling these objects down and injuring these personnel completely. But at the same time, we can see here that as we already discussed, elimination control, normally this is the cost is high because now you need to use the forklifter. So in elimination control, we remove the hazard completely. It is the maximum protection level and it is the most effective. And then we can say also it is the highest priority, but bit more costly as compared to other things mostly. Then come the substitution control. It is also part of first highest priority thing. So after elimination, at the same time, we can see if in some situations when the hazard is part of the process and we can eliminate it, then what we can do, we can substitute here the process, procedure, material, anything with the less harmful one, right? It's about replacing the more hazardous material, process, activity, task, or machines with lesser hazardous ones. When we cannot totally eliminate something, then we go for the substitution. A non-combustible material can replace a combustible one, right? A combustible material can be replaced with it depends actually, situation to situation, we substitute things with each other. This is vice versa actually. Substitute replaces same chemical but in a different form. As particle size of a substance decreases, hazard level increases. For example, if we use something as part of fumes, then it is more hazardous because people can inhale it easily. So if we use them in ingot form or pellets, if possible, then what we can do, we can reduce the level of the hazard. So here what we will do, if we are using a chemical and we will try to substitute the fume form or powder form of that chemical with the pellet or ingot form of that material, so that in this way what we will do, we will try to do substitute the one form of material with the other form, this so that the substitution will let us reduce the risk. So here what we do, we replace the hazardous material or cause of hazard, and it is also a high protection level and it is more effective. Most effective is the elimination, then more effective substitution again, and then comes the engineering control. Here what we do, we modify the hazardous scenario. For example, here you can see we put a local exhaust for this smoke, or this guy, he is using the shield. And here we also use a safety glass or shield from this machine. So here what actually we do, we either isolate something. For example, here will be a worker, and then we use a shield, and then process we are isolating this hazard from this person, or we use the ventilation. For example, if there is a suffocation or smoke or something, then we improve the ventilation through this exhaust or heat vent or something. Then definitely what we are doing, we are applying engineering control, and we are providing the ventilation. And then equipment modification, for example, what we did here, we put a safety glass, or we change the equipment shape by modifying it. So this is the engineering control, and here we modify the hazard scenario, and it increases the protection level considerably, and it is also a more effective measure. Yeah, and here it normally it is done through isolation, some process activity material, or like this means, and it can be through ventilation, or it can be through equipment modification. So all these sort of things are engineering controls. Then comes the administrative control. In administrative or controls, they are nearly similar to that work practice controls. Here we change the work procedures. Here it reduces the exposure duration of the employees to the hazardous activities, and then it involves the changing behavior of the people. So here it is done through putting this written safety policies, making rules and SOPs, and then giving the training to the people, and then alarm signs and warnings. You see here we put the warnings there. It is from the administration, it is part of administrative control. And then maintenance schedule and all these stuff also. For example, making a maintenance schedule for the machine, so that it is not going to be risky. Working on that, it is part of the administrative control. And one thing is very important. Sometimes it seems that administrative control and safe work practices are same thing, but the difference is, key difference is, this is contact control, pre-contact control. We make safety policies and overall SOPs before the people are actually doing the jobs, right? And for our safe work practice control measure, the last one, it is post contact, when the people are already doing that activity, and there we don't write the actually safety policies, right? We do the safety procedure, that what steps they will be doing during that job. And for safety policies, we always try to generally mention that what things should be done before doing a job in a secure way. So this is a difference between these two, administrative and safe work practices control. Okay, now there will be the personal protective equipments. This is our main topic, right? So having the awareness with other controls and learning about this personal protective equipment, here she need to wear or hold an equipment, right, for protection. And then it reduces the exposure to hazard. For example, there is a hazard to your foot, and when you wear a safety shoe, then what you are doing, you are going to reduce the exposure to that hazard for your foot. And then it is used as supplementary control measure. It is very important, because you need to remember one thing, that you never use personal protective equipment as a stand-alone control measure. Sorry, here I forget to change PPEs, I need to put here. So it is least effective thing, right? It is the last resort sort of thing. Okay, anything designed to be worn or held by someone at work to protect against one or more workplace hazard is called the personal protective equipment. You need to know the definition of this. So it's least effective at minimizing risk because does not control the hazard at the source. This is very important because anything, if you can control that at the source, that is the most safer thing. So, but in this case, what we are doing, because we are already, it is a post-contact measure, so we are already into the job now. So here, what we only do, we only try to reduce the exposure of the hazard. Used to supplement higher level control measure. It is used as a backup. It is used in conjunction and combination with the higher level control, the control of elimination, substitution, or with the engineering and administrative control. PPE control measure is used as short-term interim measure until a more effective way of controlling the risk cannot be used. Right? It is not the proper treatment of risk environment. It is just momentarily protection against that. It is used as last resort when you cannot eliminate or substitute the activity. You cannot modify it through engineering measures, or you cannot completely control it through administrative measure. You are trying with that and still there is something, then you go to adopt these measures as well. So it is the last resort and it is used as a supplement to the other measures. So why PPEs are required? Actually, there are legal requirements, and then there are moral requirements, then there are ethically, as a matter of ethics, means if somebody is working for you, you need to make sure that they will be leaving their home from the workplace safer. It is morally and ethically employers duty that they should take care of their employees. They should provide them a safer workplace. But at the same time, when normally morality doesn't work, because when it comes to the cost of the personal protective equipments, purchasing the eye goggles, head helmets, and safety shoes, and all this stuff, and taking these control measures, then not all the people are that much moral or ethical to bother, the training and all this stuff on PPEs. So in the workplace, there is a legal requirement, and this is called the Occupational Safety and Health Act, Safety Act 1970, which was, then basically it was 1970 Act, and then it is, modified in 1974 and revised into 1992. And then there is another regulations in UK, they are called PPE at Work Regulations 2002. According to these laws, the employee is legally bound to protect the employees from workplace hazards, making the necessary arrangements, providing them with safety equipments and safe workplace by law. So this is the requirement by the law. So now you can see that why it is required. It is legally binding because of these laws, the PPE Workplace Regulation 2002 and OSHA Safety Act 1970, you can say, which is now until 1992, because they keep improving it. So legal requirement by law, PPE at Work Regulation, PPER 1970, 1974, then it was modified 1992, and then 2002 regulation we have. By law, it is required that employer must protect employees from workplace hazards. Limbe, OSHA Safety Act 1974, 1992, work under formal contract, workers under formal contracts, they were bound to be protected by the law. The PPE at Work Regulation, PPER 2022, it was a recent change, 6 April 2022, they have made some changes. Here, by law, it is required that an employer must protect an employees from workplace hazards. It is Limb A and Lib B, whether it's a formal employment contract or some other services contract. Because before it was, if there is some issue, they will be looking into this, that employee or an employer, they have a legal contract and all this stuff. But now even in Europe, they say that even if somebody is not in a legal contract with you, but they are providing you some services, even then the employer or the guy who is beneficiary of these services, who have asked for these services, he is legally bound to provide them a safer work environment. So here again some detail that what was the difference. The first limb A workers are those workers with the contract of employment. These groups are employees under the Health and Safety Act Work Act 1974 and already in scope of PPER 1992. And then for limb B workers, it describes workers who generally have a more casual employment relationship and work under a contract for service. They do not currently come under the scope of PPER 1992. These worker means an individual who has entitled into or work under a contract of employment and any other contract, whether express or implied, and if it is expressed whether oral or in writing. You see, I mean, no, it doesn't require that it is specifically written agreement. Sometimes, even if somebody is, written contract also, if there is a oral contract, verbal contract, then even then they are the beneficiary or business owner or employer, in the sense who is getting the services, he is legally bound to go for the safety, to arrange for the safety of the worker who is providing these services. Now, this was something about the very little detail about, the necessary one that you need to be aware of as a safety professional, that these laws exist. So now we go for some main categories of personal protective equipment. By definition, we know it is something that we can hold, wear, or we will hold or wear to protect from the hazard. So for example, we have for hand protection, we have gloves. For foot protection, we will have the foot shoe. Head protection, we will have helmets. For eye protection, there will be eye goggles. For ears, it will be earbuds and this thing. Respiratory protection, we will use the masks. Then fall protection, there are fall arrest, fall arrest and safety belts. Body protection, we use this safety suits. Then for high visibility, these jackets are worn. So this is also, means it is a point of discussion that the safety jackets, visible safety. So for safety, high visibility jackets also actually considered as a measure of protection, personal protection, because when you're working in a dark place, you wear them because they are aiding you to enhance your safety, so that in the dark tunnel or someplace, some worker who is working in that area, he will not get hit, or if somebody is working in a close confined space, then again this visibility jacket will improve his chances of being viewed, and means avoided any harm and provided help in case of an emergency. So it is also something that you are wearing in order to enhance the safety and control, using it as a control against the hazard. And here at this point, normally we used to talk about the car seat belt. So regarding that, we need to know that for me, means if we means the lose means if we speak about that, then for me myself, if we go for the nature of that safety belt, then it is there are two things. It can be taken as a engineering control, but at the same time it is also sort of personal protective equipment. It can be, because without that even you can drive, but what it does, it enhance your safety. So sometimes people, they try to call it as a, say, the personal protective equipment, but it is something that is in between that. So for me, calling it as a personal protective equipment is somehow okay. And even also on the other side, if somebody is trying to call it engineering measures, it is more or less like that. But specifically like your airbag, that is for the car point of view, the your. Yes, this actually, it is more towards the personal protective equipment, this car seat belt, as compared to, you can see, if we talk about the airbags, they will not be considered. They will be considered as an engineering measure, and of course, safety. The seat belts for all the passengers, they are sort of the personal protective equipment, that because they are worn to avoid the hazard of getting the this in case of any, sudden break or something. So but normally this is something, means there are many things in life we use for protection. So just to have an idea that when we are trying to take something as an aid to the protection, then if you can use it, you can wear it, hold it, or place it, something like that, then it can be sort of the some sort of personal protective equipment. But now coming to our perfect workplace thing, there are basically these 8 type of main protections: hand protection, foot protection, head protection, hearing and eyes protection, respiratory protection, fall protection. Then there is body protection, full body protection, and then high visibility jackets are there. So these are the main types of personal protective equipments. So now we will see what are the employer's responsibility regarding this personal protective equipments. First of all, employer need to perform the hazard assessment, and then employer needs to depute someone. He is responsible for identifying and providing the appropriate PPE. Based on the hazard assessment, they need to identify that what kind of hazard is there and what kind of personal protective equipment is required for that job. So they need to arrange for that. Training employees for usage and care of PPEs. When the employees are provided with the personal protective equipment for the respective hazard, then they need to be trained on using that equipment as well. And same is maintaining or replacing the PPEs, because once they are provided to employers, so if over the time they get expired, they get used to, they get old, then they need to be replaced or maintained by the employer. And then there is PPE plan or the activities regarding this personal protective equipment program, that also need to be updated, reviewed, and evaluated from the employer side, so that the employees can be provided the continuous safe working environment. So these are the employer's responsibilities regarding the personal protective equipment requirements. And what are the at the same time, by law, some things are required from the employee, and which involve properly wearing the PPEs when they are provided with the PPEs against some hazard. For some job, they need to wear it, they need to use it properly. And then when these employees, they are provided the training from the employer, then they should be attending the training to learn the proper application usage of the personal protective equipment. It is their responsibility, they should learn about that, so that they will not be misusing or spoiling the personal protective equipments. And also whatever PPEs are provided to them, they should try to keep them maintained and clean and care for the provided PPEs. And then in case if there is a PPE that require replacement or maintenance, they need to inform to the employer, their supervisor. This is also the responsibility of the employee. So these are the employees of responsibilities regarding the personal protective equipments. Now, it is the personal protective equipment plan. Actually, as a safety professional, from the employer side, for a job, you need to make a PPE plan. And here in the slide, you can see there is HEAT this abbreviation. You can use this to remember that the steps involved in safety plan. First is the hazard assessment for H, and then it is the identifying needs of PPE. First, we do the hazard assessment and then identify what kind of uh, uh, equipments PPEs are required according to the hazard assessed. Then providing this equipment is the second part. Identifying and providing this equipment, then comes the training part. For that, once you have analyzed or assessed the situation, and you have assessed the process or activities, and you have identified the hazards, then accordingly you have identified that what kind of PPEs will be required, and then you provide these PPEs to employees. Then you need to do a training program for these personal protective equipment, so that your employee will know that how to properly use the PPEs, because if the PPEs are not properly used, they can itself be a source of harm or hazard. So proper training for the PPE usage and maintenance and care is also the third part of the PPE plan. And then comes the first time maintenance of PPEs, and that is to keep the PPEs maintained for the employees. And then comes the monitoring of PPEs. So PPE plan, whatever all these steps, you need to continuously monitor the program by doing the hazard assessment on continuous interval, because depending upon the process, changing situation of process or site, okay, or work, there will be a new and different requirements for the PPEs, and you can identify what the other requirements are rising for the PPEs, because for instance, if some work started, some construction work is started, initially it was the civil work, there were work at height and all this stuff, and you identified that your employee will need the you say this foot protection, and they will need the work at height, body arrestor, fall arrest equipment. But what happened actually after 1 month, now MEP work started, and there are people who are working on electrical stuff and mechanical stuff. So now you will know that only you will know if you are doing the hazard assessment continuously and you are monitoring your PP plan, then you will know that after 1 month now we are in a project phase where there are electrical work involved, and now people also needs the electrical gloves, helmets, and this stuff. So monitoring the PP program is very important, because over the time the activity will change, the work procedure will change, and same your training needs will change, and also the maintenance of different PPEs will keep changing. So this circle you will keep going. You will do the hazard assessment. This is actually this I have changed this, swap them. Hazard assessment, then identifying needs, then training, and then maintenance of PPEs, and then monitoring of the PPE program. So this is all the PPE plan. So when you are going to make a PPE plan, you need to take these 5 steps. You need to remember them. You can use this acronym HIT MM. First is hazard assessment, then second is identifying the equipment, third is training, and fourth is maintenance of PPEs, and then monitoring plan for the PPEs. So this is all about a personal protective equipment plan. And first step is hazard assessment. Identify physical and health hazard is the workplace. Organizing and analyzing assessment data. Identifying appropriate PPEs. Identifying proper type of PPE and protection level. And then reassessment of workplace hazards. So this is a hazard assessment, because we see what kind of hazards are there and what are the appropriate PPEs there. Identification of workplace hazards. How we do the identification of hazards. No, actually, we identify the hazards from the process or environmental hazards. There can be the chemical hazards. There can be radiological hazards, then mechanical hazards, then there will be electrical hazard. So actually, as a safety professional, when you are going to do the hazard assessment, you need to know what kind of hazards can be there. You should know that hazards can come from process. For example, overpressure, fire, explosions, noise, loss of containment. These come from the process. Then there can be some hazards in the environment. For example, there can be biological, chemical, and cultural or social hazard. Biological, chemical means, uh, biological hazard. For example, this was a biological hazard. There can be a COVID virus, right? So you need to assess the situation. That hazard can come from environment. Then chemical hazards can be there. For example, ingestion of poison, exposure to toxic fumes, and this stuff, they can be sort of hazards. If these activities are there, then there can be chemical hazards. And then radiological hazard, if there are the radioactivity or radiations involved, then there can be the radiological hazards. And similarly, for rotating machinery and different mechanical stuff, they can have mechanical hazard. And similarly, for electrical things, for power lines and all this electrical work, you can have electrical hazard. So thing is that in order to do the hazard assessment, you should be aware that what I am looking for. For that, you need to know what kind of hazards can be there. If there is a process, there can be hazards from that process. Some hazard can be for the environment. If there are chemical procedures, chemical things, then hazards can be there. So as a good safety professional, you need to know these things, that what can be the kind of hazards. It can be from process, environment, chemical, radiological, mechanical, electrical, and then you need to know these activities or procedure or things that can cause these kind of hazard. So this is for identification of the hazards. So here, then if you know your place, you have in mind that these kind of hazards can be there, then on a workplace, you make a hazard assessment document. Here you can put a formal document you will generate, and what you will actually do, you will put all this data, and then you will see for food hazards, eye hazards. I told you there are basically a type of hazards. You will see if foot hazards, they can come from falling and rolling objects that can pierce sole of the shoes and all this stuff. It can come from erections. So here you need to see the foot hazards can come from these activities. Eye or face hazards, if there are acids or caustic chemical gases or vapors, then they can cause eye or face hazard. And is abscess and lead removal, there is emergency insufficient ventilation, then it can cause respiratory hazards. If there are falling objects or this sort of activities, then they can cause health hazards. Electrical hazards can be for working near energized parts. Hand hazards for hand hazard, there can be different activities, skin absorption of harmful substances or this kind of activity. For example, means not all these, but in your document, you will see among this, what kind of activity is there. You will write it down. That can cause the foot hazard. Then you will see what kind of activities are there which can cause eye hazard, then respiratory, head hazards, electrical, hand hazards, also arm and leg hazards, then hearing, noise related hazards, see, and then blood fluid extra. So actually in this document, you will put the detail of this site information, and then you will go and check for foot what can be the hazard activities, similarly for hand and this all this stuff. So from this you can assess that what kind of hazards are in the workplace. So once you have done the hazard assessment and you know these are the hazard for activities, this activity is there and it can cause the foot hazard, then you need to the appropriate PPE. Appropriate PPE means the PPE which is appropriate for, of course, for foot hazard. You will not go for gloves. You will go for foot safety shoe. So during this phase, when we identify the hazard, then we go for the selection of appropriate PPE. And in this, we take care of the following things: that PPE clothing and equipment should be of safe design. It should be provide appropriate level of protection. For example, there are different kind of safety shoes. So you need to check which one is the appropriate. There can be different form of safety gloves for hands protection. But you need to check which one is appropriate, because there are all safety gloves, but maybe if there is some cement or some chemical, then you need chemical protection. And of course, wool glove that will not provide the safety against the chemical. So appropriate PPE is very, now, when you know there you require hand protection, for hand protection there is gloves, but you need to know appropriate type of gloves then. Should be fit and comfortable for wearing. While appropriate selection of PPE, you need to take this consideration. And also multiple PPE should be compatible with each other. When you are selecting different PPEs for different hazards, then you need to know that they are compatible with each other. And even one PPE, it should be compatible with its parts. PPE should meet or be equivalent to standards developed by ANSI. This is the American National Standard. You also need to know that this and the PPE selected should meet some specific this American National Standards Institute ANSI standards. It should meet the ANSI standards. And now, for example, for full body type PPEs, it can be head helmets. There will be eyeglasses. There will be for ear protection. Then there can be the chaps pants for this body protection. Then there will be foot protection. And here you can see fall arrest for harness, or fall arrest for work at height of against the fall protection. There will be some sort of gloves for hand protection, and then it will be against the sharp or hot objects, and depending upon the process or material, it will be can be the type of gloves that is for chemical protection. And then this high visibility B jacket. So means this is a general overview that what kind of normally PPEs we need to select for a full body. For example, I told you this there is a hand glove for hand protection, but there will be different appropriate gloves depending upon the nature of the job or the activity or material. For hand protection, for example, when you are doing the welding, there will be the other gloves, leather gloves. Okay. And if you are doing just simple some job, for example, somebody is using the chemical, then it will be the other type of gloves that will be used. So normally this all body needs these kinds of protections. And now it comes to the head protection. We will see for head, frequent causes of head injuries that can come on a site. Falling objects can cause this. Bump head against fixed objects can cause this. Wearing a safety helmet to protect an employee's head is the protection for the head. It can protect an employee from impact, penetration, or electrical hazard. So for head protection, you will wear a helmet but you need to, you see, the most important thing is this helmet. So even if I was not working there, but somebody is working there, right? For example, it is something, actually this is something very psychology of, or mentality of our people, especially in uh, Indo-Pak and Africa, that we see, okay, this guy is working, but I am there, I am engineer, so I am just going there to check it out. But safety, you cannot take it for granted, because this guy is doing a overhead activity. Though I am doing nothing, I am standing aside, or I am just going there and coming out, but I need to wear it. That is the reason on the sites, even visitor need to wear the helmets, right? Because he can drop anything, and I need the head helmet, because everything that is valuable, skull, brain, ears, nose, mouth, eyes, the everything is, you know, imported everything, and anything can be damaged if he drops something. So don't take it for granted. We use the head protection against the falling objects and all this stuff. And there are hard, because I am wearing this hard helmet. So, but even for hard helmets, as we were discussing, now you need to realize as a safety professional, there are different types of, again, the for head protection, we will use helmets, hard helmets. Then for hard helmets, now again, there are different classes. Here, what is actually, as a safety professional, you need to know, because all hard helmet will not be same. So you need to go for appropriate class. Class A, it is impact and penetration resistance, and limited voltage protection is up to 2200 volts. So if there is voltage more than that, there are high tension lines, 20 kV lines, 20 kilovolt lines, then class A helmet will not work if you are working nearby that. So class B will be there. It is highest level of protection against electrical hazard, class B. So if you are working high voltage shock and burn protection up to 20 kV, if there is a situation where there are 20 kilowatt lines nearby, then you need to know where the recommend the class B helmet is. Class C helmet is lightweight, comfort and impact protection. For example, if you are just visiting the site, so you can wear the class C for class C helmet, because it is lightweight, comfortable, and also you need to, it give you impact protection, but you need to remember it will not give you the electrical hazard. So if you cannot use the class C helmet, if there is an electrical hazard nearby, the lines are high tension lines are passing by. So you need to be very careful, because all these will look like helmets. They will be all hard helmets. But if there is a class C helmet and it is on your head, and you impact with the, make impact with the some HT line or LV line, 2200 volt or 20 kilovolt, then it will not be protecting you from the electrical hazard. So bump heads also, protection from head bumps, and these are for only bump heads, and they are not designed to protect against falling or flying objects, right? If if there is a bump head, it can save you against bump, but if something drops on your head, it will not be protecting this. And these helmets or hats are not normally recommended on the workplaces, because they are not NC approved. So color of codes for hard helmets, it is information you need to know. White color is for engineer and supervisor, red is for firefighters, blue is for electricians, yellow is for laborers and workers, brown is for welders and workers, and green is for safety officers, gray is for the site visitor. These are the standard colors normally used around the globe. And you need to figure out that why there are even color codes for different helmets. You need to figure out this, because why means there are classes in the helmets. If an engineer is working and near the HT lines, he will wear a class B helmet. But a laborer who will be working near the same voltage, he will wear also a class B helmet, but he will wear, for example, for yellow color. So what is this difference? You need to think over it, and you need to let us know what your mind makes sense of that. That why there are different colors for different category, job categories, or for different people on a workplace. This we need to, listen from you, I hear from you at the end of the lecture. So you need to keep in mind that there are different colors for different sort of things. You also need to, this is something you need to keep in mind, that if you see someone wearing the red helmet at a site, you will know that he's the firefighter, right? So similarly for the green, it will be a safety officer, and if somebody is wearing the white helmet, he will be manager, supervisor, or foreman. So you need to remember these colors, and along with that, you need to know why there is different colors for the same sort of helmet. So next, similarly, uh, we will see requirement for hard helmets. They must meet ANSI standards, Z89.1, 9086. This is a standard for protective headgear for industrial workers. Whoever will be making this helmets and supplying to you, he should, this manufacturer should meet this ANSI standard, and he should put it on the brochure or leaflet of that. He should emboss it on the helmet that it meets this standard, and it should be resist penetration by objects and absorb the shocking of a blow. Suspension straps should be there. You need to know what kind of hardware should be using. It should be NC approved, this standard. It should be suspension straps, be water resistant and slow burning. It must fit appropriately. It should have electrical insulation in case if electricity or electric work is involved. So, as a safety professional, what is the purpose? You need to know what kind of activity can cause a head head hazard. Okay, from this first slide, then you need to know what kind of helmets are there, what kind of helmet you need to select, depending upon if there is electrical work or not, if there is falling objects or not, if there is only impact protection required, or also the other thing is involved. And then when you will be able to do that, you need to know the color codes, that what kind of color, who will be wearing what. And then you need to know, as a safety professional, when you are recommending and buying this equipment, you need to know that what requirement they should meet. They should be NC standard, meeting this NC standard. Suspension straps should be there, water resistance should be there, it must fit appropriately. So all these things putting into details, and in the slides we are discussing, the purpose is not to burden your mind, but just to let you know that what kind of things as a safety professional you will be looking into while going to select a safety helmet. So same will be true for other, eye and face protection. Same pattern. You will know what are the frequent causes of eye injury. There can be chemical splashes. Okay, you need to know these things. What can cause these eye and face protection? Why we will require in case of these things? We will require the eye face protection. Then what will be the benefit of wearing eye protection? We will know that if we will do eye protection PPE, it will protect employees' eyes and face. Then it can protect from all these activities. You need to know that. So you will recommend, or based on that, when you feel these things are there, you will know that you need eye and face protection, and then you will see what type of eye and face PPE you need. You will need safety spectacles, then goggles. There can be welding sheets. You will know from that if somebody is doing welding, there will be fiber fitted with the filter lens. So you will need these things to know in order to recommend the type of eyes and face PPEs. It can be any of them, and then you will see that there can be face shield, laser safety goggles, and then you will know some, because you are the safety, you need to know these are simple safety goggles with more enhanced protection. You see here it is more closed. It will protect more eyes from the sideways as well. If the process involve, for example, somebody is doing grinding or something, definitely they will need it more. If somebody is welding, he will need a welding shield. This face shield is if there is only for example the chemical splashes, then it is okay, you can wear this face shield. But these are both face shield, but if there is the welding involved, definitely you will choose a face shield which has a specific lens to see through onto the welding, so that it will not harm the eyesight. And then Also, you need to provide the full face protection, and for splashes, it will be working. So as a safety professional, you will need to decide on that what kind of activity and what is the respective, the relevant PPE. Then you need to know what are the standard involved for the products which you will be using for eye and face PPEs. For example, what eye standard, ANSI standard will be required, Z87.1, 1989 or 2003. It should fit properly. It should provide unrestricted vision and movement, should be durable and cleanable. It should not be like that the glass, through the glass, it is so much dense or something or poor quality that people cannot see, and they are wearing this glass while working. You know, you need to take care of these requirements when selecting, making selection for eye and face PPEs. Selected PPE must clearly identify the manufacturer, should allow unrestricted functioning of any other required PPE, right? For example, if you are wearing one helmet and one eye goggle, then they should both be consistently operating with each other. They should not restrict each other's option, you know, the function. You need to take care of this as well. So accordingly, you need to choose the PPs. So similarly, foot and leg protection, you see here again, same thing. We will see what kind of things can cause that, and then we will see what will be the benefit of wearing foot and leg protection, and then we will see what can be the foot and protection things, PPEs that can be used for combination of foot and shin guards, safety shoes, electrical, in case of electrical hazard, we have other things. So here you need to know some basic type of foot and leg protection, and then you need to know what are the requirement, what ANSI standard they should meet, Z41.1991, they should fit properly, and these requirements they should fill. So you see, regarding against each PPE, you need to know the causes, then you need to know what will be the benefit of using these PPEs, then you need to know what kind of PPE you require, and then you need to know that what kind of requirement standards or other requirement they should meet. So regarding this, hand and arm is the same, from where these injuries comes, and then what is the benefit of wearing this, and then again what are the, there will be gloves made of leather, canvas, aluminized gloves, armor fiber gloves, synthetic gloves for chemicals and all this stuff, and then fabric coated fabric gloves, chemical and liquid resistant gloves. So you need to know all these types of gloves, and then you need to know the requirements. It should be reuse age and all this stuff means the same. You need to know what is the level of penetration, thermal electrical protection, and all this stuff while recommending these head protection gloves. So then respiratory protection, same, what can be caused and what is the benefit of wearing that, and then you will know what kind of their surgical mask, if there is an identified mask, it should be fit tested according to this 29 CFR 9010 respiratory protection standard. Then air respirators, you see here, they should also meet this standard. And then you need to know that what are the requirement for you need to check for respiratory PPE selection. It should comply with the standard or this, all this stuff. Similarly, you see here some, you need to be aware of, this is the air respirator, this is also another type of air respirator, and then this is N95 mask, and this is the normal mask. So these are the main things you need to know about the different sort of PPEs. For a different kind of protection, there are different PPEs, and then there are different requirement to look for when you are going to select them. And now here, this next part of PPE plan, this is training requirements. Regarding the training, employers are required to train each employee to use the PPE on the following. For example, when you are giving them training, you need to take care of these points. These points should be part of your training program. These points should be conveyed to the employee during the training, that why, when PPE is necessary, they should know that, so that every time they are doing some activity, they will know that for this activity, this what kind of PPE is necessary, what when PPE is necessary, what kind of PPE is necessary, how to properly put on, take off, adjust and wear the PPE, the limitation of that PPE, and proper care, maintenance, useful life and disposal of PPE. So all these points, they need to be conveyed to the employees. They should know that when they need to wear a PPE, for example, when they need to wear a safety issue, and then they need to know when PPE is necessary. They will know if there is a foot hazard involved, then there is some working place where there can be injuries to foot, then they will be trained that then they will know they will need a foot protection, and what PPE is necessary. They should be trained and briefed that they need to wear a safety boot, and then they should be told that how to properly fit, take off, adjust and wear the PPE. And then limitation of the PPE, they need to be told about limitation. For example, they should be told that it is not necessary that one PPE or foot protection PPE, for example, foot safety shoes you are wearing, but you should tell them that this specific safety shoe will not protect them against the electrical shock. So they need to be told about this, that their safety shoe will protect them from this penetration or this thing, but they also need to be conveyed the limitation of that safety shoe or that whatever PP is that, in the sense that they should know what is the limitation or protection level of that PPEs, and then they should be briefed on how to take proper care or maintain or useful life of their PPEs, or they should be briefed that when they should dispose of the PPE. For example, if there are the mask involved, then the people during the training, they should be told that you should not be reusing it, or if there are this air respirator, then they should be briefed that when their air filters need to be replaced or disposed of. So these are the things which you need to convey to your employees during the training. And then again, the training of employees required, and when retraining need to be given to the training when there is previous trained employees not demonstrating the proper understanding and skill level. For example, you have trained the employees, but you still find that some people cannot use the PPEs properly, then you need to retrain them. Or if there is a change in the workplace, for example, we took the example, if before it was working only civil structures, then no electrical involved, so they need to be retrained for the new PPEs. So then comes the Regulation Act 2002, which we actually mentioned. So here are some clauses from this act. What is all about? It is about according to personal protective equipment regulation 2000 PPE on the market. Yeah, it is about, actually this regulation is about that what should be the PPE sort of means it is specification of PPEs, what specification they should meet from the supplier. PPE on the market must be supplied in official language of destination country with following relevant information. When a PPE is selected, it should follow this. The manufacturer should follow this act, and according to this act, the PPE should be provided with the following information on storage, use, cleaning, maintenance, servicing, and disinfecting. For example, if there you are buying the air respirators, they should provide in your local language that when the filter should be changed, how it should be stored. Information on the level of protection provided by the PPE. Of course, limitation of the PPE should be provided. Information on the suitable PPE accessories and appropriate spare parts. They should provide the information with an air respirator that what kind of filter can be used as a spare part. Any information on limitations to usage of PPEs, they should provide that information, the expiration period of the PPE. For example, if there are masks or there are air respirator, air filter or anything else, then they should be mentioning clearly the expiration date. So these all things come under the Regulation Act 2002 PPE, Regulation Act 2002, and you should take care that whatever supply is your supplier or whatever you are buying from the market, you need to check these information are provided by the supplier, because supplier is also bound to provide this information under these Regulation Act 2002. PPE user handling guidelines, general user handling, these are very common things. Always use all PPE according to the manufacturing instructions. In order to ensure the effectiveness of PPE against concerned risk, make sure that all items of PPE used together are compatible with each other. To understand this, you need to know, for example, if you are using the air respirator, so its filter and its assembly should be compatible with each other. Only then it will provide you the proper effective protection against the hazard. So you need to know that all the workers must be trained and instructed to put on recommended PPE. This is part of general usage and handling instruction. All the PPE that are prone to be contaminated must be handled with care. For example, filter of air respirator and this stuff that should be kept safe from this contamination. Any disposable PPE must not be reused. For example, the general normal masks, if they are not for reuse, then they should not be reused. And this is also another guideline or instruction for using the PPE. All the PPE must be stored in appropriate conditions. Any damaged, unfit, or expired PPE must not be used and it must be disposed properly. This is also very important. You need to take care of these guidelines and you need to convey these guidelines even to the workers, because if there is, for example, you are using a fall arrestor or so if there is rope damage or something, then it is unfit for use, it is undamaged or something, then it should be returned and it should be disposed of properly before instead of being kept in the usage. So all these guidelines you need to follow in order to for the usage and handling of the PPEs. And now we will see some facts about the PPEs. Actually, PPEs will almost always be a part of your risk control measures or your hazard control hierarchy for reducing the exposure of your workers to hazard. Always, approximately always at each workplace you will see them, but PPE must only be used in conjunction with clear operating procedure and safe work methods. They will not be used alone. It is not like that, okay, no problem, now you wear the safety shoes, now go and do whatever you want to do on that hazardous area. Means in conjunction to other control measures, PPEs will be used. Comprehensive induction and adequate on-job training is required for PPEs. Regular training in the form of safety workshops, toolbox talks, and emergency drill is very important, because it is very common experience from the field that people will not even know how to properly wear the safety belt. For the fall arresters, and they will not be be aware of properly wearing the air respirator, so or face shields. So these things are very important. You need to occasionally do the safety workshop, toolbox talks before the works, and then used to do the emergency drills. And awareness on usage of PPE handling, storage, and maintenance should be provided all the time. Awareness of emergency situation like equipment failure or a chemical reaction. Also, this is very important thing. Means you should try to brief them that in case of failure of some equipment, what they should do. Don't use damaged or heavily worn PPE. This is very obvious. So these are some facts. So you can summarize. First of all, properly, you should always use proper PPE, and then you need to take care that they should not be alone used. They actually PPEs, as we in the very first slide we studied that PPE is not never used as single solution, single control measure. It is always used as a last resort in combination with the other measure control. So these are all the things about the personal protective equipments. Normally, if you just grasp these things, whys and whens and what, then the other details like what is the ANSI standard for head helmet Z89 or Z14 or something like this, then that is something you don't need to put remember all the time in your you don't need to remember that now, but you need to have a concept that what is the why we need a ANSI standard and what kind of ANSI standards are there for something, right? And so over the experience you will also remember that what the ANSI standard Z89 is for food, and for goggles there is some other Z standard, ANSI standard. So you need to actually grasp the concept. As I am always, for me, I am always talking that these things are not to make you read like remember by heart, but thing is that you need to take the concept, that why we were discussing all these things in the slides again and again. Same pattern for hand protection and for leg protection and all this stuff, because we wanted to know you that you need to be aware of hazard activities that can cause hazard, and then you need to make a judgment that okay, for this activity I will use this sort of thing and it will do this purpose, and then you will go that no, for that PPE that I am using, there are different also types or classes that serve the different purpose. And then as a safety professional you will look into that, oh no, here there is electrical thing involved, there is this much voltage, so I will use this class helmet. Here there is no electrical, so I can use this class helmet. So these sort of things for all, you know, head protection, fall protection, body protection, foot protection, all these things are discussed in this manner again and again, so that you will grasp a concept as a safety professional. Because what actually at the end of the day you will be doing, you will need to assess the risk, what kind of risk can be there, and then accordingly appropriate PPE you will be recommending. And then most important part is you need to make sure that people are properly trained and they are using it properly. And then as a safety professional, your organization and you are monitoring this safety plan on proper, you know, regular basis. So this was all about the personal protective equipment, and this is my favorite quotation, that do not be safety blinded, be a safety minded. Always be a safety minded, because if safety is taken as a joke, then death is a punchline. So we as a safety professional, as a even ordinary human being, should be concerned about the safety of others. So being a good safety professional, you need to grasp these things. You need to know the reasons. You need to know what is behind theory behind the personal protective equipment, and how and which kind of PPEs you should select, so that ultimately you can make your workplace better. So thank you very much. And any questions from your side, please come and talk about that. And second thing is, I can remember that if you don't have questions, then we already left a question there, that why there are different colors for helmets, that we need to know from you, that what can be, you know, reason in your point of view for these different kind of colors. So please, anybody, if you have questions, first ask your questions, and if anybody will want to tell a logic behind that, you can share with us. And thank you very much. And please, anyone who can elaborate that why there are different color codes, what can be the logically common sense about that. So for that, after your questions, I would like to discuss that. Thank you very much. Yes, Mr. Noura Abdul Jafar. Okay, please take the mic.
Yes, why the different in color, in my perception, I think is to be able to identify in case of accident, under robust, or this person is undertaking this kind of job. So the necessary first aid will be given to him. Thank you. Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, please. I heard you, but please, can you come again?
I said, why the difference in color? is to be able to identify in case of accident that this person is undertaking so kind of job. What via his element, you identify the kind of job he is undertaking. So in case of accident, he is unconscious, you know the type of treatment you are going to accord him.
Yes, good. This is good. Yeah, same sort of logic is there. And there is also other people.
Say again.
There are
Hello?
other people raising their hands.
Yeah.
One of those can give another answer. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Please, Engineer Afis.
Can another delegate that has his hand up, give an answer, please? Thank you.
First of all, I thank you. I thank everyone. Honestly, it has been very nice. The class has been very nice. Nevertheless, we are completely late behind time, and you know that other people have some commitment. Engineer Afi, you have done a very wonderful job. We are very sorry that the time factor, you have been misled by the time factor, which is not your fault. But nevertheless, we really appreciate you. You know, on coming Friday, we're gonna have a section for our question and answers. So please kindly prepare your question for Friday. It is not necessarily on course 108, but all the courses that you might have gone through. So Friday, the first hour is going to be for the question and answer series before we call on Engineer Hafiz. So thank you very much. We really appreciate everything you have done tonight. And we hope that tomorrow we're gonna start our class on time and everybody gonna be better. We really appreciate everything. Thank you for being calm. Thank you for following through. Engineer Hafiz, you have done a very wonderful job. Please reserve your question for Friday. We're gonna meet. Okay, thank you very much. So this is the way we are bringing the class to its end. Unless Engineer Afi, you have the last thing to say. If not, the class is coming to its end because we are almost 20 minutes behind the time. It is not our format here. Okay, Mr. Adeleke Sheriff. Okay, let me quickly give you the last chance since your hand is still up. Okay, you can unmute yourself, Mr. Adeleke.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
You have just a minute. Yes.
Okay, sir. I don't know if Engineer Hafiz can hear me.
Yeah, we are hearing you.
Okay. We really hear what he said, but the main question I want to ask, like most of the projects going on, especially where we are in Nigeria, there is no an HLC to orientate the workers, even most of we that we are engineers, unless those ones that take up the programs for HLC and proper wearing of our PPE. People have been putting it on in a wrong way. The laborers, the way they put it on, the carpenters, even the artisans sometimes, the way they put it on. Please, I don't know if there is a regulation that will actually put up on these, that they can help us put up on these, so that we won't be having work hazard almost all on site. At least if we look at it, percentage of work hazard that we have recently is getting high from the technician and the workers and the laborer. Thank you.
Please kindly put your question into please kindly formulate well your question so that all of us can understand. Meanwhile, we are behind the time, honestly. So what I would suggest, please put your question into writing. On Friday, we're gonna talk about it. Okay. Any question you may have, please put them writing down. On Friday, we're gonna do it. Thank you very much. We really appreciate all of you for being patient, for being calm, and for following us. Tomorrow, we're going to deal with course 105. So please be prepared as we carry on. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful night.